Are you ready to learn how to successfully onboard your virtual assistant? In this video, I'm going to walk you guys step by step the actual process that we have at 2XU when it comes to our clients onboarding their assistants into their business and how we walk them through it. So of course, make sure to watch until the end of this video for all of that. So the first step is to create their 90-day OKR or objectives and key results. What would be, let's say, 3 main objectives or goals that you have for them within the first 90 days of them working with you, and what would be key results to know if you guys are on track of that. The main thing to keep in mind when you're onboarding a virtual assistant, and honestly for most other jobs that you're probably trying to hire for, is the first 30 days is for them to learn. It's not for them really to do anything in your business. It's for them to just learn where your business is at, how it flows, and I'll walk you guys through that, how to find that out. And the second 30 days, the 60 days basically, is to then start contributing. Is now that they've learned what the business does and where their role basically comes in, then it actually goes to just contributing and actually starting to do a lot of the work. And by the end of the 90 days, they're already starting to initiate and find different ways that they can take on new projects, on new tasks, working with you and the business. So you want to map that out. What can that look like for you? So for me, when I was onboarding my assistant and I already had 2XU, I already had YouTube, basically, I had all of this systems that I already had in place. I first really had her learn how to do a lot of my content because it was taking up a lot of my time, a lot of my thinking time, making sure that content, not just for my personal account and also for 2XU, goes out well and does well. So for the first 30 days, that was actually her focus. So in the first month, she was just focusing on my content. The second month, she was then learning the operations in my business. So again, as she kind of learned the content side, she's now going to start contributing on the second month. So then she's also now learning the operations side. And on the third month, she was actually learning the whole client funnel at that point with me, because for me, that was my focus. That was where I needed a lot of help with. So again, kind of you can think of it that way, of kind of focusing different parts of the month maybe into having your assistant learn all of it. Or if you're mostly having them as a personal virtual assistant, then having them start focusing on different parts of your business or your life. It could be on the first month, they're just focusing on all of the recurring tasks. What are the things that need to be done daily, weekly, monthly? Second month, they're learning project management of managing you. And by the third month, getting it to be your second brain. So whatever cadence or whatever sequence you choose, it's building one thing on top of the other. Kind of like my assistant learned content, so she knew what the company was doing. So then on the operations side, it was a little bit easier. And of course, once she actually started seeing how I was managing our clients from start to finish, she understood the whole thing, because again, it all stacked up. So try to imagine what would be the 3 main objectives for your assistant. Again, for me, it was content, operations, and client management. So then the key results for every single month. On the first month, it was to learn the content management system. The second month was learning what the operations look like. And by the third month, they were learning how our clients basically were taken care of and managed in 2XU. So again, think of that sequence. And within 2XU, when we're onboarding with our clients, we already asked them about this early on, because it's good to have a picture for your assistant as you onboard them to know what they can expect, what are the things to look at basically month to month, and that they know that they're going to be building up to learning a lot of these roles and responsibilities as they work with you. Next is you want to go ahead and prep their login. So what this is essentially very straightforward of, will they have their own work email, or will they be using a support at email? Will they be given individual access to some of the tools, or will they be sharing some of the tools with you? Now, when it comes to sharing passwords, I do recommend using tools like Bitwarden or 1Pass, where it's a little bit more secure, and you can even share your password with them without even showing them the actual password. They just log in basically. So you have different options to make sure that this is secure, but this is just also making sure that they can log in. So beyond just setting up their logins, it's once you're on the call with your assistant, you're walking them through all of this we're talking about today, is that you're also making sure that they can actually go into the email, go into that tool, they can actually get started without having a lot of back and forth. Maybe there's a 2-factor authentication that needs to happen, so on and so forth. So it's good to clear that out early on. Next is setting up communication systems. So what I mean by this is, as dreamy, as perfect in the world as it is to just have your assistant know everything about your business right away, it just isn't the reality. So what I mean by setting up communication systems is I recommend at least 3. First one is your daily sync. Now, your daily sync could be a 15-minute call. Now, during those 90 days, it might be longer because you're training them at the same time. So daily. The weekly one is more of a retrospective on what happened in the last week and planning out what the next week is going to look like. And maybe a monthly one as well. Like, I have all three with me and my assistant. The monthly one is basically planning out the month ahead and setting up again our new objectives and key results for that month. So then every single month we're checking how well she did last time and be able to give feedback, and how well I did managing and working with her, and then setting up what are the things that we're going to focus on in the next month. Now you can pick and choose what kind of communication systems you want. Those are ones that we recommend, the ones that we set up our clients with, because your assistant can learn about your business without learning it from you. So you can't expect them to be no communication, just look at your Notion pages or looking at your documents that you have online and just them kind of understanding or absorbing it. There has to be some sort of communication back and forth where they can ask questions, they can get context, and they can learn more and more about you and the business. Next is you want to create the delegation system. Now when it comes to delegation system, I recommend the WOW method. The first thing is basically the why. Why does this task need to get done? I've been giving them context, again, especially in the beginning. The O is the outcome of this task. Like, are you gonna, is it going to be a single graphic, or actually they're creating 10 variations of one graphic? And finally, it is the who and the what. So who and the what is like, who else is involved in this, or what tool or what resource do they need to actually figure it out and get started. So you want to think of those three. Aside from that, you want to pick out like, hey, I want to delegate tasks to you through WhatsApp, so they know to check there. I'm going to delegate tasks to you during our daily syncs, so it's already set there. As long as there's a main way where your EA gets basically brain dumped a couple of tasks and they can process through it with you. Next is going ahead and making sure that you guys have a really good projects and task system. So as they capture the things that you have delegated to them, basically, then they'll have a way to categorize and put them in the right projects as a new task. How you guys are managing as new projects come along. And for us at 2XU, we just use Notion for this. Just makes it really easy, and everything for us is in Notion. But depending on your business, you just need to have a good centralized way to know what your EA is doing and for them to manage you on what you're doing. Next is creating a system where you record a task or outcome that you're training them on, and them creating an SOP or setting up a procedure out of it. So what that looks like is, you might be in a Zoom meeting, they're recording basically you walking them through how to manage your email, for example. As they get there recorded, then they'll turn that into an actual document. Maybe that's on a Google Doc page. There's also a lot of other really cool documentation tools that you can use. But the point of it is that as you are teaching them, you don't have to really keep teaching them over and over again, because they've turned it into a document that you can check, that you can see if they were able to capture what it is that you meant, and is now a material for the next person who's going to do it as well. So this is going to be an iterative process. You're going to do it over and over again for different tasks. This means for the same task. And for the EA, then they're creating a database of all of the SOPs that they've created so far. That becomes essentially your company manual. This is especially essential in those first 90 days. So then there's a quick way for them to check what were previous instructions on this, so then they can move forward on their own. Next is going ahead and actually giving a business walkthrough for your assistant. Now there's 4 areas that I recommend that you go through with them. First one is your marketing and sales, just like what your marketing funnel is, what the sales funnel is, what's the common way that you get clients, and then walking them through the onboarding of your clients. So what each step basically looks like, going through the delivery phase, and of course then the offboarding phase. Now the reason why you want them to know at least these 4 is that, again, gives them context about the business, what you do, what are you focusing on, and what are the ways that they can support and help you through that whole process. Next is having a good quality sync. And what I mean by this is, even if your assistant has had 8-10 experience being a virtual assistant, there are still going to be discrepancies on what their version of quality is based off of their last boss and what your quality threshold is. So to keep that in mind is, as they now start creating output for you, as they start contributing and taking initiative in your business, is to just sync up of like, hey, this is what I expect, this is where you're at, that's not bad, this is just where I really want to see this going. So it's also keeping in mind that, again, maybe when they get started, they're actually here and your own threshold is here, is to keep working with them and not just think that, hey, they're not a match because they're not at that quality level. They've had like 6 years experience, blah, blah, blah. Again, they're taking reference of what they've worked with before, and that might not be up to your qualities. That's why it's important to then make sure that you guys create feedback systems. And when it comes to having a successful relationship with your virtual assistant long term, it actually goes back to being someone who can give feedback really well. Now, a book that I recommend that I actually buy for our clients, and it's not even a book by 2XU, is the book The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. And if you want to, you can even read the second book on it of self-leadership and the 1 Minute Manager, because then it walks you through how to effectively give feedback and how to give feedback at the different phases of your VA or your employee's journey. So just because they're already a 10 out of 10 when it comes to graphics doesn't mean they're going to be a 10 out of 10 when it comes to copywriting. They're going to start again, whether that's on 2 or 3. So it's unfair to expect them of just because they're really good at graphics, they're going to be amazing at copywriting right away. So it's learning how to manage them, give them effective feedback, so then they do get up to the quality that you're looking for. Now, onboarding your virtual assistant doesn't have to be a headache or a scary thing. It just has to be that you have systems in place, that you're taking the lead as their boss, as their employer, that you know, or at least to this point, have figured out what you need from them so far, rather than kind of just letting them figure things out by themselves. You've created a way to kind of massage a little bit of the overwhelm that usually happens when you just get hired. You're helping them kind of get through that overwhelm rather than getting overwhelmed right away. They have a step-by-step way of what to expect, what to watch out for as they start working with you. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what are your onboarding tips or questions. I would love to know. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those 2 playlists right here and the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and with that, small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!